Hi everyone, I'm Rosa, I work for Fertility Network. Thanks for being here today. We've been joined by Sarah Trimble, a nutritional therapist dedicated to the practice of evidence-based and common sense nutrition. She believes in the power of traditional eating over patterns of fad diet. She believes in the power of traditional eating patterns over fad diets. Today, Sarah's going to talk to us about the fundamentals of nutrition for fertility. Discover which nutrients are key to optimize your reproductive health, what foods you should be eating, and what supplements are really necessary. Sarah's got some slides for us, and then she'll be taking some questions at the end of her session. We'll do the best to answer as many as possible, but forgive us if we don't get to yours. Thanks to those of you who sent your questions in already. Sarah will be including as many of these in her presentation as she can. So yeah, Sarah, hi. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for that introduction. Thanks to everyone for joining us this evening as well in this lovely weather. Hopefully some of you are watching or listening from your garden. And yes, thanks for that introduction. I really like to focus on evidence-based nutrition. And when we were drawing up this series of webinars, myself together with Rosa, I really wanted to start off with the fundamental of nutrition as a kind of a really good stepping off point. I feel sometimes with all the nutritional advice and information that you find online, on social media, even well-meaning friends possibly giving you nutritional advice, it's sometimes very easy to step beyond the real fundamental nutrients that are really key. And it might seem really basic to be talking about vitamin C and vitamin E and what foods to get those nutrients from, but I think sometimes because it's so straightforward and simple, it's often overlooked. So it's a really good place to know, to find out where, if you're getting all these really key nutrients. So I'm going to break it down into different areas of nutrients, find out what foods you can find those nutrients in, and we're going to talk about supplementation where it's necessary, how to maybe build, create a nice little nutritional protocol for yourself, and what other key nutrients and nutritional supplements might also be really fundamentally important to your reproductive health if you're trying to conceive.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Sarah. I'm going to let you get on now and I'll switch my video off, but I'll be back at the end to take some questions.
Okay, so why nutrition for fertility? So I want to just look at a few key areas today. And when we're trying to support our reproductive health with nutrition, vitamins and minerals in foods and certain foods, I think we're really trying to key in on a few areas. One is we want to make sure we've got enough of the nutrients for proper hormone production and hormone balance in the body. Really important, secondly, is that we have enough antioxidant nutrients and key nutrients that our body uses to produce antioxidants, because those are probably the most important class of nutrients for reproductive health when trying to conceive. If you really get down to the nitty-gritty of nutrition for fertility, what we're trying to do is actually create really healthy cells. So we're going to get down to the real cellular level and try and make sure that those cells are as healthy as possible, because we want to make sure that in your reproductive organs, you're producing healthy sperm or healthy eggs. And going in even deeper within that cell, we want to make sure that the DNA within that cell is as healthy as possible. So we're looking at the nutrients that are responsible for healthy cell production and looking after our DNA. If we think about reproduction, it's essentially the combining of the DNA and what nutrients are really important for looking after healthy DNA. So this is just a quick overview of the nutrients that I'm going to be talking about today. Antioxidant and antioxidant nutrients, I'm starting with that because in my opinion, that's the most important area to be looking at. Melatonin, one that you all might have read about if you're doing your own research into nutrition or complementary therapies for reproductive health online or reading some books. Vitamin D, the sunshine vitamins, so hopefully we're all out getting some today. Iodine, in my opinion, an often overlooked really, really important nutrient for female fertility health. Our omega-3 fats, folic acid or folate. There's a bit of a debate of which form we should be supplementing, so I'm going to address that for everyone. B vitamins, again, often overlooked for their importance. CoQ10, it's a supplement I get asked about a lot, about whether people should be supplementing. If any of you have read Rebecca Fett's really excellent book, It Starts with the Egg, you'll maybe have questions about whether you should be supplementing CoQ10, or you might already be doing so. So we're going to have a little chat about that. And also I'm going to briefly touch on other key supplements that can also support certain key areas of reproductive health for men and women. So we're going to, and then we're going to come to the end, and actually I'm going to just give a quick overview of how we can address everything in a really simple, straightforward protocol of diet and supplementation. So I wanted to start off talking about antioxidant nutrients and how they support fertility. This is, in my opinion, the most important area. So our bodies are continually producing unstable molecules called free radicals. These are produced all the time in our bodies. I'm producing them now as I sit here as a byproduct of metabolism, but also produced as in response to radiation, UV light. If we smoke, we produce more free radicals, inflammation, air pollution. All these things contribute to the production of free radicals in our body. And these damaging free radicals, they can damage every cell in our body, but our reproductive organs and sperm cells and egg cells are actually specifically quite vulnerable to free radical damage. They degrade the health of both egg and sperm. So that sounds all quite negative. However, our bodies have a system to protect us against free radical damage. And this is something called antioxidants. So antioxidants are substances in our body that protect cells from free radical damage, okay? And you can actually eat antioxidants fully formed in certain nutrients from foods, or other key nutrients are used by our bodies to produce antioxidants inside our bodies. And antioxidants are mainly present in plant foods and protect our cells from free radical damage. If you have a quick look at the little diagram I have on the right there, you'll see that free radicals specifically target DNA, and DNA is really vulnerable to free radical damage. So again, when we're talking about conception and making sure we've got healthy cells and healthy DNA, we want to make sure that our diet is protecting our bodies from this free radical damage. So when reproduction is essentially the combining of DNA, again, we want our DNA to be really healthy. So free radicals and fertility. Because we know that free radicals are very negative to reproductive health, this is an area that has actually been quite extensively studied in clinical trials in medical settings. So quite a few clinical trials have actually measured the degree of free radical exposure in certain reproductive organs and found out what the outcome could be of that. So when we measure free radical levels in reproductive organs, we know that this is associated with poor egg quality. Sperm are very susceptible to free radical damage. If you have a little look at this diagram of a sperm, sperm is essentially a head which contains the DNA and a tail. So when we know that DNA is particularly vulnerable to free radical damage, sperm are also very vulnerable to the damage from free radicals. And DNA damage or free radical damage to sperm is what will often be the cause of poor morphology, which is an outcome that we sometimes will see tested for in reproductive clinics. Women who have been found to have higher levels of free radicals in the fluid around your follicles are found to have a reduced chance of conception and assisted conception. So we really want to reduce these levels of free radicals in our body. And there's a really easy way to do that in upping the antioxidants. So why are free radicals produced? As I said, we're all producing free radicals every second of every day. They're a byproduct of metabolism. Also as a result of UV radiation. So when we get sunburnt, that's actually an extreme example of free radical damage to our skin. Pollution, smoking and drinking alcohol are all triggers for free radical production in our body. But this damaging action can be halted by antioxidants. So antioxidants come along to protect our bodies. So it's really about balance. And if we can make sure that the amount of antioxidants that we have in our diet will balance out the free radicals and protect our cells, then this damage won't occur. If we have enough antioxidants, it prevents free radical damage from free radicals from damaging our body tissues, and it protects our reproductive health. In addition to radiation and pollution, certain dietary sources of free radicals, so deep fried food, food that's deep fried at very high temperatures, will often contain free radicals, so takeaways and crisps and snack foods. Sugar, when we eat a lot of sugar, it triggers a real metabolic boost, triggering our metabolism, which will then result in a side effect of our body producing more free radicals. And also alcohol. So when we drink alcohol and it's broken down in our bodies, a byproduct substance is produced called acetaldehyde. And acetaldehyde actually acts as a free radical and can damage DNA in the body. So we have two kinds of antioxidants in our bodies. One is endogenous, which means inside, which means it's produced by our bodies. And to produce these antioxidants, we need selenium, zinc, really key nutrients in fertility health for both men and women, copper, magnesium, and manganese. And if you look at any good fertility-focused multivitamin, will often have very good levels of these key minerals in them. And another type of antioxidant is exogenous antioxidants, which means outside, and these are the ones that actually occur in the foods we eat. And by eating these foods, you're taking in enough antioxidants to protect your body. So in general, it's plant-based foods that are sources of antioxidants. So anything that grows in the ground essentially will be a source of antioxidants. So that includes beans and lentils, and any types of vegetables and fruits, olives, even chocolate and coffee. If you think about it, chocolate and coffee are essentially beans. So they're actually quite good sources of antioxidants in our diet as well. Antioxidants often provide colour to fruits and vegetables. So it's that the antioxidant is often the pigment that gives a vegetable its colour. So when we're recommended to eat like a rainbow of vegetables, the reasoning behind that is that we're then getting a variety of antioxidants because we're eating lots of different colours, and therefore we're getting lots of different antioxidants. So what would we kind of look at for dietary sources of antioxidants? So we want to eat a variety of plant-based foods. This photo that I've included is a really good demonstration of antioxidant-rich foods. Everything's very colourful. It's all pretty much plant-based, but you'll see the spices there, like your turmeric, which would be using to make curries, or cinnamon, ginger. Spices are actually the most potent dietary source of antioxidants. So it's really key to try and get as many spices and even herbs included into the diet as possible, because that is going to greatly increase the antioxidant content of your diet very quickly. And again, plants. So we're talking about how plant-based foods are your main source of antioxidants. So we want, and the general recommendation is to eat 5 portions of fruits and vegetables a day. In my opinion, for reproductive health, that's not really enough. You'd be aiming for 5 portions of vegetables alone, and then on top of that, you'd be having 2 servings of fruit. So in total, you'd be getting at least 7 servings of fruits and vegetables. And that can seem like quite a bit of an overwhelming ask, you know, to get 5 servings of vegetables and 2 of fruit. But what's really important to understand is that a serving of a vegetable is really what fits in the palm of your hand. So a handful of vegetables, if you imagine if you have a nice salad at lunchtime, it's very easy to throw in 3 good handfuls of veg. And then with your dinner at night, if you're maybe making a curry or a stew, or even cooking some vegetables, make sure you're getting 2 good handfuls at dinner time, and you're easily reaching that 5 a day. If you can go beyond that, you're doing even better as well. And not to forget that actually incorporating some good fat in your diet is also going to hugely promote your antioxidant content of your diet. Partially because some of the good fats like extra virgin olive oil actually contain really important antioxidants in themselves, like vitamin E. But when you eat your vegetables like a salad, or maybe your spinach, together with some fat, your body actually increases the amount of antioxidants that it absorbs from that vegetable. So by drizzling a little bit of olive oil over your salad, putting in a knob with your dinner, you're really going to increase the absorption of antioxidants from those veg. This is a great little diagram that's great to come back to, and it's great to have as a bit of a reference, because it shows you all the different classes of vegetables, the colours of vegetables: green, yellow, orange, red, blue, purple and white. And what you would really try and do is aim to actually get some vegetables from each of those groups on a daily basis. And when you do so, you're making sure that you're getting a really good spectrum of these antioxidants that are really key to look after your reproductive health. One or two key nutrients that I'd like to focus in on is beta carotene, which is the orange pigment that gives carrots their orange color. It is actually, when we look at a follicle or the corpus luteum under a microscope, it's actually orange in color. And our body concentrates beta carotene in the follicle and corpus luteum. So that tells you that those antioxidants play a really protective role in that area. So for women to look after egg and follicle health, beta carotene, really key antioxidant to be including in the diet. So that would be from carrots, sweet potatoes, pumpkin, butternut squash, etc. And for men, lycopene, which is the red pigment that gives tomatoes the red color, which is also present in red peppers and pink grapefruit and watermelon as well. Lycopene is shown to specifically support sperm health, improving both sperm size and morphology. So quite a lot of research into the role of lycopene. What's quite interesting about lycopene is that it's one of the antioxidants that increases as tomatoes are cooked. So a cooked tomato or a roasted tomato or tomato sauce has a bigger content of lycopene than a fresh raw tomato. So just a few wee nutrients there to key in on for men and women. So how would you put that all together, and what are easy ways to increase your antioxidant intake in your diet? Green tea is a fantastic source of antioxidants. So a few cups of green tea a day. Red bush tea, also known as rooibos tea, another really good source of antioxidants, and it's caffeine free if you're trying to cut back on your caffeine intake. Or herbal spice teas like a chai blend or a turmeric tea, cinnamon tea, really good to try and have a few cups of those a day. It's a really easy way, in addition to the foods you eat, to try and up your antioxidant intake. A few squares of dark chocolate, like a 75% or an 80% cocoa, really good source of antioxidants, and with the high cocoa content would tend to be lower in sugar. As I said before, having a drizzle of olive oil over your vegetables or your salads will actually support absorption of the fat-soluble antioxidant nutrients. And also in another way, having avocado with a salad, the fats that are in the avocado also enhance your uptake of your other antioxidants from the other vegetables that are in that salad. Try and make curries or tagines or stews or sauces with things like ginger, turmeric, cinnamon, cumin on a regular basis. That's going to massively support an increased antioxidant intake in the diet. And as I said, don't always eat your vegetables raw, because roasting tomatoes and peppers will increase the antioxidant content. And one way, I think, to really ensure that going forward on a daily basis you're getting a real abundance and selection of antioxidants is to think of yourself as a vegetarian who eats a bit of meat on the side. So focus on filling up with the vegetables, or making the vegetables the main event, like a vegetable curry with an abundance of different vegetables with a little bit of chicken. Because by focusing on that, you'll make sure that you're actually getting enough vegetables on a regular basis. So this would be an example, in my opinion, of like an eat well plate for getting enough antioxidants into the diet. If you can see, half of that plate is covered by a variety of different colors of veg, and then you've got your source of maybe something like your protein in terms of your fish or your chicken, and a small portion of carbs like your couscous there, but you're filling up with loads and loads and loads of veg. So moving on from sort of the antioxidant sources of foods, I just want to key in on a few specific antioxidant nutrients and how to make sure we're getting enough of those. So good old vitamin C, we all know, really good for preventing colds and flus and looking after our immune systems. And the reason it does so is because it's a really potent antioxidant. It actually blocks the damaging effects of free radicals. But really interestingly, vitamin C helps our body to recycle all the other antioxidants that we have so that your body can keep using those antioxidants over and over again. What's really key to understand is that smokers deplete vitamin C in their body with every cigarette. So if you are a smoker, you will need to ensure that you're getting plenty of vitamin C from your diet, and even consider an additional vitamin C supplement on top of any multivitamin you might be taking, because you'll need to go the extra bit further to ensure that you're meeting your vitamin C needs if you're a regular smoker. Dietary sources of vitamin C beyond your oranges are black currants, kiwi, one of the probably best sources of vitamin C, peppers, tomatoes, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, parsley, and potatoes. So parsley is actually really nutritious herb, full of vitamins and actually trace minerals. And I always encourage my clients to think about parsley almost like a vegetable in a salad. Throw in loads of it. You don't just put a little scattering of it on top. Throw in absolutely loads of parsley, maybe in with like some couscous or some quinoa, or over a potato salad. And it's a really good way to up the nutrient content of the meal. And vitamin E is a really important nutrient. The Latin name for vitamin E is tocopherol, and that actually translates loosely as support childbirth. There's a whole body of research that has looked into the role of vitamin E in fertility. It's shown to improve both ovulation and cervical mucus health in women, but also improving sperm quality. So really important nutrient for both men and women to have enough of. It protects sperm from free radical damage. It's been shown to support assisted conception and support and promote good implantation. Okay, dietary sources are all pretty much kind of fatty food based because it's a fat soluble nutrient. So avocado would probably be the most famous source, but olive oil, a good variety of your nuts and seeds like almonds, pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, sesame seeds, really good sources of vitamin E, as well as eggs and green leafy veg. If you have been following a low-fat diet and potentially cutting out a lot of those foods like avocado, olive oil, and nuts and seeds, there's a good chance you might be a bit low in vitamin E. So it's important to make sure that if you're taking a good multivitamin, that it has a good level of vitamin E, or try to maybe introduce a few more of those really nutrient-dense foods like avocado, nuts and seeds into your diet, along with eggs as well. And a really key nutrient, we talked a little bit about beta-carotene, the orange pigment that is in carrots and sweet potatoes and pumpkin. And that, as we said, was really important for women for follicle health. And our body concentrates that in the follicle and the corpus luteum. So beta-carotene is actually the plant form of vitamin A, which is a really important antioxidant in our body. And what happens is our body takes in the beta-carotene from the vegetables and converts it into vitamin A. Vitamin A in its ready-made form is only really found in animal products like liver, butter, and animal fat. A lot of foods that many of us don't eat a lot of. The issue with vitamin A, and this is why I kind of wanted to address this today, is that it's very important to make sure that you don't use any supplements with vitamin A when trying to conceive. Vitamin A in excess has been linked to birth defects. So if you are using a multivitamin to support your reproductive health when you're trying to conceive, it's very important to read the label and make sure that the vitamin A content comes from beta-carotene and it's not retinol, fully formed vitamin A. But also very important not to use cod liver oil supplements. Even though it's sometimes not featured on the label, Cod liver oil is a natural source of vitamin A because vitamin A is stored in our liver. So anything that comes from our liver will be a very, very concentrated source of vitamin A. So when choosing an omega-3 supplement or a fish oil supplement, it's best to stay away from cod liver oil. Instead, focus on eating foods that are rich in your beta carotene, such as your carrots, sweet potatoes, pumpkin, squash. And if you do eat animal products, try and make sure that you have very good high quality animal products, such as organic dairy products or organic grass-fed meat. For example, a little tiny bit of organic butter would be a really good source of, would meet your daily vitamin A needs. And moving on to the minerals that are antioxidants, I just wanted to focus a little bit on zinc. Zinc is probably one of the most important nutrients for male fertility and female fertility. Zinc deficiency in men is linked to lower testosterone levels. So it's very, very, very key for hormonal balance for men to make sure they're getting enough zinc. What's also really important to remember when you're trying to conceive is actually when men, the seminal fluid of men is quite rich in zinc. So when you're trying to conceive and you're ejaculating on a regular basis, you actually will lose zinc. So you need to make sure again that you're using a multi that is very meeting your daily needs of zinc on a daily basis, as well as trying to focus on increasing zinc-rich foods in the diet as well. Our body uses zinc as to make antioxidants, and it's also essential for DNA production and cell division, all key for fertility. So if we think back to the first slide and we were talking about all the key areas that we're looking at, hormone balance, antioxidant, and healthy cells, zinc is ticking every single one of those boxes. We use it as an antioxidant. For men, it's key for hormone production, and it's also really important for healthy cells and DNA. So it doesn't get much more important than zinc. The main dietary sources for zinc are red meat, shellfish, eggs, chicken, pumpkin seeds, and sunflower seeds. However, vegetarians and vegans will often be a bit more likely to be deficient in zinc, because even though foods such as pumpkin seeds and sunflower seeds are dietary sources, they are not as easily absorbed. The zinc in those foods is not as easily absorbed or used by the body. So if you are a vegetarian or a vegan, it's very important to be aware that you're incorporating vegetarian sources of zinc, like pumpkin seeds and sunflower seeds. But again, it's very important to make sure you're supplementing on a daily basis. Another issue is drinking coffee. If you drink a lot of coffee, especially at the same time as your meal, so maybe you have your lunch and you often have a cup of coffee at the same time, or you have your coffee together with your breakfast in the morning, the tannins in the coffee can actually block absorption of zinc from that meal. So always wait at least half an hour, if not 45 minutes after having a meal before you drink a cup of coffee, because you want to ensure good zinc absorption from that meal. The same also applies if you take your multivitamins in the morning. I know a lot of people take their multivitamin first thing in the morning with their breakfast. Try and avoid drinking a cup of tea and coffee at the same time, because again, the caffeine but also the tannins in the tea can very much block absorption of your nutrients from your multivitamin. So you want to make sure you have a good gap between a cup of coffee or tea and taking your multivitamin throughout the day as well. And selenium really goes together with zinc in looking after our reproductive health when we're trying to conceive. Together with zinc, selenium is used to produce antioxidants in the body. And it's also very key in looking after the health of our thyroid, which for women is really important for looking after female fertility. So both zinc and selenium are absolutely necessary in producing thyroid hormone, which can help when you're trying to conceive, but also if you do become pregnant, is really important for babies' brain development in the early stages of pregnancy. So we really want to make sure we're getting selenium on a regular basis. The issue with selenium is that throughout Europe and the world, there are pockets of selenium deficiency in that our soils have become depleted in selenium. So depending on where your vegetables are growing, like for example in the UK, a lot of our vegetables are imported from Spain, and if you'll notice on the map, Spain is an area of selenium deficiency in the soils. So if we're bringing in a lot of our vegetables from there, we really aren't getting enough selenium from our fruits and vegetables because they've been grown in selenium deficient soils. And this is a real issue in nutrition worldwide. So in my opinion, to make sure you are getting a steady, regular dose of selenium, it's really important to make sure again that any multivitamin you're taking, that you're getting a good level of selenium on a regular basis in your multivitamin. Again, any good quality fertility multivitamin will look after this. It's going to all be looked after for you. And when we come to the end, I'm going to kind of highlight a few key brands and supplements that I think are really, really good. And melatonin. So this is a sleep hormone and an antioxidant. We get a 2-in-1 with melatonin. So melatonin is a sleep hormone produced in the pineal gland of our brains. What's really interesting though about melatonin is that it's also a really potent antioxidant. It's probably the most powerful antioxidant produced in our bodies, and it's like a master antioxidant as well. A bit like when we discussed vitamin C a few slides ago, vitamin C recycles other antioxidants, so too does melatonin. So melatonin is really key in combating the damage of free radicals in our body. So melatonin recycles other antioxidants and helps to stabilize DNA, key in fertility health. If we think back to that first slide, we want to make sure we've got plenty of antioxidants and also support stable, healthy DNA. So melatonin is really key in doing that. When we look into the role of melatonin in our reproductive organs, so melatonin isn't just found in the brain and the body. We actually know that women actually store melatonin in the fluid around our follicles. So if our body is storing melatonin there, that's a sign to us that our body and our reproductive organs actually need the melatonin there, probably to act as a potent antioxidant and protect the follicles from free radical damage. And we know men who sleep less, so therefore produce less melatonin, have a sperm count 29% lower than men who have a very good proper sleep pattern. And people who sleep less than 6 hours a night can actually reduce their chances of conceiving by half. So we know that sleep, healthy sleep, and melatonin production has a really important role in our reproductive health. So how would you increase melatonin levels naturally? So I'm sure a lot of you have done a lot of research online and a lot of reading, and you probably are aware that a lot of reproductive clinics or fertility clinics in the States will often supplement with melatonin. It's really important to be aware that within the UK, melatonin is only available on prescription from a doctor, and the prescription of that is actually very much limited and controlled. You can, if you want, go online and order a melatonin supplement from the States. I would very much advise caution in doing so, and resist the desire to kind of self-prescribe a melatonin without any medical kind of supervision, and try and actually support your melatonin levels naturally. The possible issue with giving your body a hormone is that, for example, melatonin, if you were to start to take a melatonin supplement without knowing whether your levels are low or if you really, really need it, is that when your body detects that you're giving it a synthetic form of a hormone, it will often shut down its own natural production. So everything might be going well while you're actually using that melatonin supplement, but then as soon as you stop, in the meantime, your body's actually shut down its own natural production. And then as soon as you stop, you might find that your sleep pattern is all over the place because your body has actually, in the meantime, shut down its own natural production of melatonin. I know some questions came through as well about supplementing with DHEA. Again, that's not really available over the counter in the UK as well, because it is essentially supplementing a hormone. And you have to be very careful not to supplement hormones unless you're completely sure that you're deficient, because you can easily knock off your own natural production of that hormone, or knock out the balance of all the other hormones in the body. So again, unless on the prescription of a medical professional, I do not advise purchasing these supplements from the States online. So, but however, there are natural ways that we can actually increase our own melatonin levels. Sticking to a strict sleep pattern, going to bed at the same time every night and getting up at the same time every day, even at the weekends, has been shown to naturally regulate our melatonin, giving us a really healthy, strong sleep pattern. Also really important to understand that melatonin release at nighttime is dependent on complete shutdown of melatonin during the day. And that complete shutdown during the day is actually done when we expose our body to daylight. So getting out into fresh air and strong daylight during the day is really important to promote good melatonin production at nighttime. You can also eat foods that are rich in melatonin, such as cherries, kiwi fruit, goji berries, and walnuts. One study found that men eating 75 grams of walnuts, so really rich in melatonin, every day improved sperm morphology and vitality. And try and use natural sleep aids like lavender, magnesium, herbal teas, even trying meditation, yoga at nighttime to try and get yourself into a really good sleep pattern, as well as trying to turn off your blue lights at least 2 hours before bed. So when we were talking about daylight shutting down melatonin production, the blue light from laptops, iPhones, iPads actually mimics daylight. So it can be, when our eyes detect this blue light, it actually can cause melatonin shutdown. So if that's happening at nighttime when you're going to bed, you're actually suppressing your melatonin production at nighttime. So really disturbing the natural rhythm of melatonin release. So moving on from antioxidants, I want to look at a few other key nutrients. Vitamin D is getting a lot of interest in the press at the moment because it's very key in supporting our immune health. A huge body of research that has looked at the role of vitamin D in supporting fertility. And it's believed that one of the key ways that vitamin D supports fertility is it helps to balance an immune system. So this can be quite important for women when they're trying to conceive and they want to achieve immune balance. So we want an immune system that is strong but not overactive or overreactive. And what vitamin D does is that it actually is an immune system modulator. So it helps to make sure that our immune system is very good at fighting infections and viruses and colds and flus, but it's not overreactive, and it doesn't attack safe elements in the body, safe cells. Vitamin D is produced in the body by the action of sunlight on the skin. So depending on where you live in the world, and the degree of sunlight exposure, you're often going to be either deficient or sufficient in vitamin D, depending on that. So if you live further north in the UK, like in Northern Ireland where I live, or in Scotland, we're often more inclined to be vitamin D deficient compared to someone who maybe lives in the south of England, where they get more sunshine for longer during the spring and summer. It's really important to be aware that it's impossible to get enough vitamin D from our diets alone. Certain foods like eggs and fish and even mushrooms do contain some vitamin D, but they're never going to meet the full vitamin D needs that we have. I always advise anyone trying to conceive that they test their vitamin D levels just to make sure that you're sufficient and to know if you're getting enough vitamin D with your supplement program, because if you do find out that you're deficient, you might find that you need to supplement at a higher level for a short period of time just to get your vitamin D status up quicker. And towards the end, I'll actually share a link to a website where you can actually buy an at-home vitamin D kit, which I've used myself, and it's really easy to use and really reliable, quick turnaround, and I recommend it a lot for clients. And iodine, which is often overlooked in my opinion. So iodine isn't really talked about a lot as a nutrient, but actually it's a very common deficiency, especially in women. One of the most common nutrient deficiencies worldwide. Women who are deficient in iodine were found to have half the chances of conceiving as women who have healthy iodine stores. So we know for sure that iodine is a very important promoter of female fertility. One of the main roles of iodine is producing thyroid hormone. And we discussed previously that thyroid hormone health is really key for female reproductive health, and then for healthy conception and healthy gestation as well, healthy brain development during the early stages of gestation. Vegetarians and vegans are more likely to be deficient in iodine. If you have a look at the slide here, the main dietary sources of iodine are fish and shellfish, eggs, dairy products. So if you're not really eating a lot of these foods because you are vegetarian or vegan, it might be important to look at increasing your iodine intake from the diet, or also making sure that you're taking a good iodine supplement, or also making sure that the multivitamin you're using has good iodine levels as well. And the good fats. So omega-3 fats are good fats. And over the years, we've been encouraged to be on low-fat diets. If anyone's ever been Slimming World or Weight Watchers, they'll be aware of really cutting down their consumption of fats to try and cut down their calorie consumption. Unfortunately, the fats are really, really important to our reproductive health, for our hormonal health, and also the health of our reproductive organs as well, the physical health of our reproductive organs. So if we've been following low-fat diets at all, there's a good chance that a lot of us aren't eating enough of these essential good fats. So they're present in oily fish, olive oil, avocados, nuts and seeds. And if you can notice that when we're talking about foods that are really dense in the key nutrients, a lot of the same foods keep coming up again, like avocados, nuts and seeds, olive oil, eggs. So it's really kind of already giving you a picture of what foods we want to have in our diet on a daily basis to make sure we're getting a lot of these good nutrients for reproductive health. Increasing consumption of good fats is essential for reproductive health. And what roles do the good fats play in our reproductive health? So especially omega-3. Omega-3 fats are found in oily fish. And what's really important to understand about the omega-3 fats is they're called the essential fats. And the reason they're called the essential fats is because our body can't produce these fats on its own. And we need to obtain them from our diet on a regular basis, or we're at risk of becoming deficient. So if you're not eating oily fish on a regular basis, or you've never been a fan of oily fish or fish in general, there's a good chance that you aren't getting enough omega-3 from your diet. Omega-3 fats are key for circulation and blood flow. So they promote the blood flow, bringing oxygen and nutrients to our reproductive organs, thereby promoting egg and sperm health. Omega-3 fats have been shown to support healthy cervical mucus in women, which is really important for supporting implantation and reproduction. A higher intake of omega-3 is essential for the structure of sperm. So specifically the part of the sperm, which is the head that breaks through the outer layer of the egg to fertilize it, that is rich in omega-3 fats. So by increasing dietary intake of omega-3 fats, or by supplementing omega-3 fats, you're going to make sure you're really producing healthy sperm and eggs. And how would you increase intake of the good fats from the diet? So it's actually not enough to just increase your intake of good fats. You also have to try and reduce your intake of the bad fats at the same time, because if we have too many of the bad fats, it actually blocks our body's absorption of the good fats from the diet. So try and avoid refined convenience foods that are made with these bad fats. And when I'm talking about the bad fats, I'm really talking about sunflower oil, vegetable oil, and foods that are produced with those vegetable oils, like crackers, biscuits, crisps, cakes and biscuits in supermarkets are often made with sunflower oil or vegetable oil instead of butter. And avoid too much red meat, cheese and cream, those high fat animal products as well. If you do eat red meat, choose grass-fed or organic, because when animals are grass-fed, they're higher in the good fats. And eat increased consumption of nuts and seeds. They're perfect for snacking or incorporating into your breakfast, and try and have some olive oil on your salads once a day. The best source of omega-3 fats is oily fish. So men who are trying to conceive can eat plenty of oily fish. However, if you are trying to become pregnant, it's quite important to be aware of the NHS guidelines around eating oily fish, which is to eat oily fish no more than once a week. And that's because oily fish can actually be a source of heavy metals. And the larger the fish, the more concentrated those heavy metals would be. So for example, tuna and shark we're often advised to avoid when we're trying to conceive, because of the high chance that they contain mercury or other heavy metals. So my advice would be to try and have oily fish once a week when you're trying to conceive, such as salmon or sardines, like a small oily fish, because the smaller the fish, the less chance that it has high levels of heavy metals in it. A really good way to make sure you're getting enough of your omega-3 fats is to supplement, and for women especially, an omega-3 supplement that is high in DHA would be recommended, and choose from a company that screens their product for heavy metals. I'll come back to that at the end, and I'll outline certain companies that I think are really great at doing that. And just to remember, cod liver oil is not a suitable source of your omega-3 fats when you're trying to conceive, because it often contains vitamin A, which is not suitable when you're trying to conceive. Okay. And why is folic acid so important? So pretty much everyone knows that you need to be taking folic acid when you're trying to conceive. But why is it so important? And is it just as important for men as it is for women? Again, just as important for men to be getting good levels of folic acid in their diet as it is for women. And really the key role of folic acid in our reproductive health is that we need folic acid in promoting DNA production and in cell division. So coming back to that first slide where we were talking about supporting healthy cells, we want really healthy DNA within our reproductive cells, but also when we are trying to conceive, cell division is a key process in reproduction. So we want to make sure that that cell division process is as healthy as possible. And folic acid is a really important nutrient in making sure that that happens. In terms of dietary sources, folic acid, foliate, the word in Latin means leaf. So we always come back to the green leafy vegetables. Those are really key sources of our folic acid in the diet. So making sure that you're getting your greens, eating your greens on a daily basis is really important. And that could be something as simple as lettuce or spinach, broccoli, asparagus, as you see there. Will all make sure you're getting plenty of your folic acid from your diet. It's really important to understand that both alcohol and caffeine deplete your folate levels, your folic acid levels. So watch out for those in the diet because they will deplete your levels. So you want to eat more green veg, but also beans and lentils. So even like low sugar baked beans, a great source of your folate, whole grains, and also eggs, really good ways in the diet to make sure you're getting enough of your folate. And again, if you've been researching nutrients for fertility, again, you've probably come up against the whole folic acid or folate debate when you're supplementing and you're buying a nutritional supplement. So folic acid is actually the synthetic form of folate, and folate is the form that our body uses. So folic acid, if we take a supplement of folic acid, our body has to convert that, and it has to go through a few different steps that you can see here, converting it to dihydrofolate, tetrahydrofolate, 5,10-methylene tetrahydrofolate, and then eventually to N-methylfolate. And that L-methylfolate is the active form of folic acid in our body. The problem is that some women genetically do not do this conversion process very effectively. So when you take in a folic acid from a supplement, you may not be getting 100% conversion into this L-methylfolate. And some women will do that completely well and some women won't. You can pay for a genetic test which will tell you if you do this process well. But in my opinion, I just recommend that anyone who's trying to conceive either buys a folic acid supplement in the L-methylfolate form, or you make sure that the multivitamin that you're using contains the folic acid in the L-methylfolate form. So that means that the folate is ready for your body to use. You don't have to go through the conversion process. And even if genetically you don't do this conversion process very efficiently, you will make sure that your body is getting all that it needs from your supplement, and you won't be shortchanging your body. Okay, so always look out for, if you're taking a separate folate, the L-methylfolate form. It is a bit more expensive, but you're just making sure your body's getting enough, or buy a multivitamin that has the L-methylfolate form in it. And I'll come back to a few different brands at the end that do that. And folate is one of our B vitamins, but some of the other B vitamins are also really important when you're trying to conceive. Specifically B12, which actually works really well together with folate, and it plays a really important role, like folate, in both cell division and DNA production. So again, two really key processes in reproductive health. B12 is found in animal products, so both vegetarians and vegans may be at risk of deficiency. So again, it's very important to supplement with B12 if you are vegetarian or vegan and you're trying to conceive, just to make sure you're getting enough. B6 is essential for the production of sex hormones for both men and women, and actually also very important for production of melatonin. So that's a really key nutrient to make sure you're getting enough of, and to make sure that you have that in your multivitamin. Choline is a really important B vitamin for brain development. So really important when you're trying to get pregnant, and even throughout pregnancy, if you do achieve conception, to try and get plenty of choline in the diet. And the richest source of choline is actually eggs. So eggs, really good nutritious food to be including in the diet when you're trying to get pregnant. Alcohol, caffeine, stress, and some medications actually deplete B vitamins. So it's really important to be aware of the things that might also be depleting your stores, and try and make sure that those aren't happening to excess in the diet. So to ensure you're getting enough B vitamins, really important to choose whole grain versions of rice, bread, pasta, because the B vitamins are often contained in the whole grain portion, not the white portion. So to make sure you're getting enough, try and make sure the grains are whole. Try and eat high quality animal products for your B12, such as eggs, organic or grass-fed, beef, fish, shellfish. Beans and lentils are a really good source of your B vitamins, especially your folate. So try and eat plenty more beans and lentils in the diet. Nuts and seeds again, and again your green leafy veg. So again, coming back to these same foods again that we keep mentioning. And so moving on to certain additional nutrients that you all might be aware of or might have been researching. So coenzyme Q10, it has been really extensively researched in promoting egg quality, especially in women in their 30s, or women with diminished ovarian reserve, or poor egg quality. An author called Rebecca Fett addresses this quite a lot in her book. It starts with the egg, and CoQ10 is an antioxidant. So coming back to the early slides, we want plenty of antioxidants in the body to protect our cells against free radicals. What happens with CoQ10 is that our body naturally produces it, but the older we get, our body starts to produce less and less. Levels deplete as we get older. It's an antioxidant, but also supports energy production within every cell of the body. So when we come back to wanting really healthy cells, CoQ10 is key for the health of every single cell in our body and looking after and creating healthy cells. Coenzyme Q10 directly improves egg quality by supporting energy production within an egg. And there's a direct relationship between levels of CoQ10 in the body and egg quality. However, don't forget men, because it's also been shown to look after sperm and act as an antioxidant and support sperm quality as well. The thing with CoQ10 is that it's really impossible to get enough from the diet, so supplementation is recommended to obtain therapeutic doses. It's really difficult to obtain enough from the diet, even though some foods do contain it. So again, a really good quality CoQ10 supplement is key for looking after egg and sperm health. And I do tend to recommend that most people trying to conceive, especially if they're in their 30s, do include a CoQ10 supplement. I can't recommend the book It Starts with the Egg highly enough. Both the dietary advice and supplementation advice and lifestyle advice. And in that book, Rebecca Fett actually goes in depth into sort of recommending specific dosages for CoQ10. So it's a great reference to have. And other key nutrients or supplements that might be interesting for certain viewers today. One is L-arginine, which has been shown to have a really important role in male fertility. However, it isn't beneficial for female fertility, so I wouldn't advise any women to use it. L-arginine is actually a vasodilator, which means that it dilates and expands blood vessels, so it promotes blood flow to the male reproductive organs. And then that a healthier blood flow to the reproductive organs is improving nutrient delivery to the reproductive organs, so it's very helpful in supporting sperm quality and sperm count. And in one study, taking an L-arginine supplement actually doubled sperm count. For women with PCOS, there's another, it's actually a member of the B vitamin family, and it's myo-inositol, a supplement that has been shown to help induce ovulation in women with PCOS. And this has been very extensively studied, a very safe supplement to take when you're trying to conceive. And it is available in a powder form. A company called Lambert's do it. And there's been a lot of really good quality studies showing that it helps to induce healthy ovulation, either alone or in combination with any medications that you may be taking or may have been prescribed for PCOS, such as Clomid or metformin. And the last one is actually a herb, which has been extensively studied in promoting male fertility. It's called ashwagandha, an Indian herb. It's actually very beneficial for anyone who's experiencing a lot of stress or sort of stress-related exhaustion. It's related to ginseng in that way, and that it really can help with energy levels. And been very much researched in supporting sperm count and motility in men, showing really good increased sperm count and motility after 3 months of use. Ashwagandha as a herb is a supporter of adrenal gland health. And there was an earlier question about supplementing DHEA. And while I don't advise supplementing DHEA as a hormone without proper medical supervision, when you support the adrenal glands with some herbal remedies like ashwagandha, you can actually naturally support your own body's DHEA production. So there is some research that in men, using ashwagandha can very much naturally support your own in-body DHEA production. And so I just want to recap everything quickly and sort of outline how we can put everything that we've discussed together in a nice little package. So as I kind of been mentioning, it's key to choose a high quality multivitamin and omega-3 supplement. Those two supplements will actually look after the majority of your nutritional needs to support fertility. So it might seem like I was, digging into a lot of different nutrients there, and a wide spectrum of nutrients, but these supplement companies have done a really good job in making sure that they produce multivitamins that will look after all of those nutritional needs. So you want to make sure that the multivitamin contains the folate form of folic acid, selenium, zinc, and iodine. Key companies that I think are really producing really high quality multivitamins are Viridian, which is a really ethical company for anyone who's vegetarian or vegan. 99.9% of their products are vegetarian or vegan, and they have a very ethical approach, so you might be interested in their products. Another company that produces very high quality multivitamins for fertility is Nutri-Advanced. Their pregnancy multi-essentials is probably the multivitamin that I recommend most widely for women trying to conceive and during pregnancy. And Zita West, who is a London-based fertility expert, she produces a wide variety of high quality multivitamins for men and women, and omega-3 supplements as well. A good quality omega-3 should have been screened for impurities. So look for companies such as Zita West, Eskimo, or Wiley's Finest. All do good products, and you'd be looking for women for a product that's very high in DHA. Within omega-3 fats, there's different types of omega-3 fats. DHA is the one that specifically promotes brain and eye development during pregnancy. So very important to ensure you have good DHA stores. As I said, I really recommend having your vitamin D levels tested to make sure that you're not deficient and to make sure that you're getting enough from your supplement program. There's a company called Better You who produce really good vitamin D supplements in a spray form. And when you go, I've put the link there, and when you go on their website, they offer a service where you order a vitamin D testing kit, which you can send back in the post, and a very quick turnaround. And whenever your results come back, they will advise you on the level that you should be supplementing, and will send you a free supplement as well. So it's a really great service to make sure that you're getting enough vitamin D. I mean, if you do feel confused about the myriad of nutritional advice that there is out there at the moment, and I can understand it's quite confusing, a good nutritional therapist who is band registered might be able to help you to get the proper balance. But I think it's just really important to kind of bear in mind the real basics. Fundamental to eat an abundance of fruit and veg, aiming for the 5 servings of vegetables and 2 servings of fruit a day, remembering that 1 handful is 1 serving. Topping up on your antioxidants from green tea, spices, olive oil, cocoa and berries, all those little add-ons that can just massively support your antioxidant intake in your diet, and trying to eat a rainbow of colours and get a mix of those antioxidants. Try and eat some good fats every day. Remember, we kept coming back to the same foods as being really nutrient dense: nuts and seeds, avocado, olive oil, oily fish once a week for women trying to conceive. But watch out for those components of the diet that can actually then deplete or block your absorption of nutrients. So we're really talking about alcohol, caffeine, sugar, those things, just to really minimize as much as possible, because you might be doing all the good of getting all these key nutrients into the diet, but these dietary factors such as alcohol and caffeine will significantly deplete your nutrient intake. So you don't want to be negating all of the good work that you're doing. So that is us finished with the slides. So we've got a good bit of time, I think, to take some questions that might have been coming in.
We haven't got that long, actually, so
No,
sorry. Sadly we have to jump off this channel just because someone else is going to be using it shortly, but we have got enough time to take a couple of questions.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to go from the top, really, and this is a really good question and really interesting one from someone who's asking, what do you think of Huel? It's a supplement.
Like a protein supplement.
Sorry?
Is this a protein supplement, is it?
It's not really a protein supplement, as far as I'm aware. It's actually a meal replacement. So it's less on, it says that it contains everything that you need for meals. So I think they say you start by replacing 1 meal a day, and then you can go to 2 or 3 if you need to. So rather than it being protein heavy, it's meant to contain everything that you need.
Okay, so it's a whole package of nutrients. I mean, it wouldn't be my go-to to try, and I definitely wouldn't replace more than one meal a day, to be honest, with something like that, meal replacement, because in my opinion, something that's essentially synthetic is never going to match the nutritional balance of proper fresh fruits, vegetables, and whole foods. So again, I wouldn't try and go beyond one meal a day with something like that. And especially if it hasn't been researched in supporting fertility. In fact, you know, some of the strongest research in dietary changes for fertility are actually implementing proper dietary patterns like the Mediterranean diet and actually eating a lot of good whole foods. So yeah, I tend to shy away from those things.
Yeah.
But if you do struggle to have 3 balanced meals a day, I could see where maybe a maximum of 1 meal a day being replaced by that wouldn't be any problem. The only thing I would say is if you are going to be doing that and then also supplementing with multivitamin, you'd also have to be careful that you're not getting too much, you know, which is the flip side of supplementation. So I would be very aware of that. You know, you can actually go too far with supplementing nutrients, and I'd be careful with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So does the veg need to be cooked? I think I heard you mention that it can be a mix of cooked and uncooked veg.
Yes, so some vegetables you'll absorb more nutrients when they're raw, like all your green leafy vegetables, etc. But some actually benefit from being cooked, like roasted tomatoes, peppers. You'll actually absorb more nutrients from them in that way.
Okay.
So it's nice to have a mix. Yeah, I don't believe in being completely raw. Just do a mix of raw and cooked, and you can't go wrong.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
And do non-fresh vegetables and fruits count as your 7 a day? So for example, dried fruits, sun-dried tomatoes, roasted peppers, and raisins and nuts.
Pre-packed kind of, you know, roasted vegetables like in cans and things, I wouldn't say, because you don't know how long it's been canned for and how well it's been preserved, so we're not always sure of the nutrient content of that. Frozen vegetables and frozen fruits definitely do count. I wouldn't also count dried fruit as any of your 5 a day for your fruit, or in place of like a piece of fresh fruit, because it's actually quite high in sugar. So try and always choose fresh fruit if possible. A little bit of dried fruit on top of your breakfast, or a small bit for a snack together with some nuts is good. But I wouldn't be eating a copious amount regularly as a way of getting your 5 a day. I think some food companies are kind of to blame for this. Like they say 1 of your 5 a day on like fruit leather and things like that. In my opinion, that doesn't count as 1 of your 5 or your 7 a day. Yeah. Try and always have fresh or frozen as much as possible.
Yeah. How soon after making positive dietary changes, so increasing antioxidant intake from fruit, vegetable, cutting out alcohol and any of the other bad elements, might someone see an improvement in their fertility, or more specifically, potential benefits to follicle health? So is it days, weeks, months?
Well, we would always try and recommend a period of 3 months, because it takes 3 months for the body to develop new sperm and for healthy follicles to develop. So if you start from today, for example, following a lot of our dietary recommendations we've talked about, incorporating lots of antioxidants and making those really key dietary changes, in 3 months' time, you will be producing really healthy eggs and sperm. But it's always really important, yes, to look at that 3-month window.
Right.
Obviously, depending on what your diet has been like up until now, you know, that could be determining your health so far. And everyone's different in how quickly they see changes. But it's all, yes, this 3-month window I always ask people to bear in mind.
Okay, yeah. With regards to cod liver oil, is it the same advice for men and for women?
No. So vitamin A is not dangerous for men who are trying to conceive. It's just for women because excess vitamin A has been linked to birth defects. So men can use it definitely if they like it, but women should avoid completely.
Okay. It's an interesting one. Would retinol in face cream cause problems as it's vitamin A based?
No, that's fine. Unless you are using it to complete excess, you're only getting minor absorption. You probably aren't even getting any absorption into the bloodstream. It's more about supplementation. Yeah, so don't worry about that.
And I'm going to skip the next one because it's recommendations on vitamins and minerals, just because you covered that one. So how many micrograms of zinc for men and for women would you recommend?
Generally, I'd be looking at a multi with at least 20 milligrams for men or women, and you can go higher as well. 20-25 milligrams at least in the multivitamin.
Okay.
Yeah. Rosa, I actually realized I forgot to address a question that we got through earlier.
Okay.
About egg health. Was it egg health or healthy endometrium?
Oh yes, yeah.
So we discussed it before we started the slides. You got a question through about how best to support a healthy endometrium.
Yeah.
And if there's any specific nutrients that do so. So the main thing that promotes a healthy endometrium is the hormone progesterone. And progesterone is actually produced by the corpus luteum. So when a follicle develops into a corpus luteum, that then produces progesterone, which has an impact on the endometrium. And we can actually come back to the CoQ10. So Zita West, who's a really fantastic natural health advocate in fertility, she always says to get a healthy corpus luteum, you want to start with a healthy egg. And to produce enough progesterone, you want a healthy egg. So when we talked about the CoQ10 being a really great supporter of egg health, if you use the CoQ10 and then are producing healthy follicles, it should follow on that you'll then produce a really healthy corpus luteum, which will then enhance your progesterone production to support the endometrium. Yeah, so it should have a good downstream effect. So you're not just supporting egg health, but you're also going to have a downstream effect on having a healthy endometrial tissue.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. Yeah. So some questions about the tea and coffee and the absorption of the vitamins. Firstly, does this include decaf? Does it have the same effect? And then also, is rooibos tea okay?
So decaf tea, when you have tea at the same time as a meal or a multivitamin, it's actually there's something in tea called tannins, which can bind to some of the nutrients and block absorption. So those tannins are still present even in decaf tea.
Okay.
Obviously, decaf tea is better because you're in general, because you won't have the nutrient depletion along with caffeine in general, like losing B vitamins. But I would, as a general rule, always wait at least 30 or 45 minutes after a meal or taking your multivitamin before any tea or coffee, decaf or otherwise. And yeah, red bush tea is caffeine free, but it still is actually quite rich in tannins.
Okay.
So again, just wait that good 30 minutes, 45 minutes before having your tea and coffee. Try and get that into a little bit of a habit in your eating habits, you know.
Yeah, that's great advice. Thanks. So someone was told not to use essential oils, but you've recommended lavender. Is that okay?
Yeah, just for supporting kind of relaxation. And I mean, if someone has been recommended that specifically by a practitioner that they're seeing, you might want to keep following their advice. But a little bit of lavender, like essential oil in the bath, to help relaxation shouldn't cause any problems.
Okay, great. You check the time. Okay, I think we've got time for one more. So Lucy says, brilliant webinar. Rebecca's book says that taking a melatonin supplement interferes with natural ovulation and to only take if doing IVF. Do you agree with this? If a couple are trying to conceive naturally?
Well, I don't support taking a melatonin supplement anyway, and as I said, it can cause issues.
Yeah.
So unless it's being prescribed by a doctor, no, I can't I can't recommend melatonin supplements. And I just wanted to address it today because I do know of people who have purchased online from the States and are self-prescribing, and I just wanted to advise that I don't think that's the best option.
No, that's great advice. I'm really sorry, everyone. Tons more questions. I don't think we would get through them in an hour probably, but Sarah, thank you so much. The webinar was amazing, and I just want to say to everybody that it will be up on our website, so loads of information to take in. So if you want to go back and have a look and screenshot the slides that really interest you, and Sarah's put her contact details there, so do check her out on Facebook or email her if you want more information. But thank you so much, Sarah. It's really interesting. And so don't forget, everyone, you won't know this yet actually, Sarah and I are planning another webinar in the next couple of weeks, so have a look out for that on our social channels. And on Thursday we're actually chatting to Jessica Hepburn, who's the author of 21 Miles and The Pursuit of Motherhood, so do tune in for that as well. But thanks again, Sarah, this was absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye everyone.
Bye.